parents. Programs are open to everyone. Typically, our programs are in person. However, during COVID, we're offering hybrid educational programs, and we're hoping to continue doing that so people could have the option of watching it online at their convenience or here in person. I do enjoy having people here in person, though. I think it allows you to network with other folks, and I think you get a little bit more out of it. If you miss a talk or want to see it again, share it with a friend. Go to that chapter's website or the ACAP website to find the video link. And if you'd like to know about upcoming programs or would like to be connected with an ACAP community, we'd be delighted to have you part of ACAP. Simply go to acapcommunity.org and you can click on the local chapter tab at the top of the home page, pull it down, and give us your contact information. Just so you know, we do not share that information with anyone else. So if you're not in a chapter in our area, feel free to look around and learn more about ACAP. Just so you know, we do respect your privacy. Your email will be used only for ACAP, so you can receive notices of upcoming programs. Good information is global, caring is local. There are several levels of sponsorship that make ACAP chapters possible. We're very grateful for the sponsors' support, and we do want to acknowledge them. They would be the Center County Office of Aging, Foxdale Village, Green Hospice, Encompass Health, Penn State Health, and Juniper. And I want you to be aware of our upcoming program for next month. We have a gentleman who is a contractor. He now works for the school district, but he has a certification on aging in place. So he will be here to talk about possible modifications to your home to make it more senior friendly, which should be a great program too. You also won't want to miss our national symposium that's coming up. It's on November the 4th from 1 to 4. Our speaker is a nationally known AARP caregiving expert, Amy Goyer. So put that on your calendar. Again, if you want to receive invites, go to www.acapcommunity.org. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Liz Plosner Shelfa. And we're thrilled to have her tonight. Thank you.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm excited to be here. Can you hear me okay? Because I can definitely project if you need me. So again, as Jill introduced me, I'm Liz Plosner Shelfa. I'm the Executive Director at Juniper Village of Brookline Senior Living. We are a continuum of care. We have every single level. I will say I started my career and my journey in our secure memory community, which is Juniper Village at Wellspring. And I was there for close to 10 years. I am also a certified dementia practitioner, trainer. So I'm really excited to share this information with you. So just a show of hands, how many of you are a caregiver to someone living with dementia or Alzheimer's disease? Okay, we'll find out, right? How many of you know someone with dementia or Alzheimer's disease? Okay. I will tell you, this is going to be a topic of discussion, right? Because it is coming. There are a lot of people that are aging and they're getting diagnosed. I think the average now is every 66 seconds, someone is diagnosed with Alzheimer's or a sort of dementia. So today we're going to kind of talk about how not all memory disorders are created equal, right? So our learning objectives for today, which I kind of focused on, was again, understanding that all of those behaviors do have meaning. We just have to find out what they are. We're going to learn and identify and develop strategies to address each behavior, which we'll go through a nice list. And then we will also learn how to monitor the effectiveness of how we're able to redirect, validate, and provide comfort to those individuals that could be experiencing a behavior. So as an overview, how many of you heard though the word dementia, right? Everyone has heard that word. It is a dementia term, right? It is an umbrella term. So it really is a group of different symptoms, right? It can be spatial, not being able to see the difference. A lot of times therapy will tell you to put your hands over your eyes and make binoculars, and that's what the resident is actually, or sorry, I have to say the person is actually saying. I'm so used to teaching for our team. So if I say residents, I apologize. It is just a slip of the tongue. So again, spatial awareness, right? Everyone also always assumes that dementia is memory loss, unable to remember, short-term, long-term. There's a lot more. There's personality changes. And then unfortunately, there's also sometimes behaviors associated with that. So I want you to take a look at this screen. Everything that I am going to tell you tonight is going to revolve around a person, right? So when you've met one person with dementia, you've only met one person. How we are going to walk through the different types of behaviors and the solutions is going to always go back to that person, that personalized care, and how those relationships are formed. One way of doing that is, of course, bringing up our needs, right? How many of you have ever seen this pyramid before, right? These are the hierarchy of needs. You can break it down. There's self-actualization, self-esteem, love, belonging, safety, and then, of course, our physical. So this helps break down how we're going to manage a lot of different situations. Because when a person does not feel whole, that is when usually we start to see a different type of behavior, okay? Anyone have any questions about that? All right, great. Ways to manage behaviors. Identifying the challenging behavior. Again, as I mentioned, every behavior has a meaning. We need to find what happened. So a lot of times we will break that down to a trigger, right? What happened? Be very specific. The more specific that we are, the way we're able to look for certain patterns. Was it a one-time occurrence? Is this happening every day at 2 o'clock? What is happening that we're starting to see a shift in someone, right? So when you talk about the different types of behaviors, we're going to go actually through each and every one and how to handle them. Next, anger and also agitation. I don't like the word agitation because I feel like that word is a really large word and we don't really know what that means, right? Because when I'm agitated, it's going to be different when Janine is agitated, right? And if we just say, oh, the person was agitated, what does that mean? What kind of behavior were they exhibiting, right? So when we see someone who's aggressive, who's exhibiting anger, rage, or also that agitation, what can we do in that moment? First and foremost is pain. It is one of those topics that we never talk about, right? But if you go to the hierarchy of needs, physical pain is there, right? And it's very easy for us, if we're experiencing pain, we can say, oh, my head hurts. Or, oh, my leg is really bothering me today. Someone with dementia might not be able to articulate those needs and able to express that I need a Tylenol, right? Or I'm experiencing this type of pain. So always look for facial grimacing, moaning, right? Sometimes rubbing of their temples or the area. That is a good indication that that pain assessment is definitely needed. Next, once you've been able to rule out pain, the other way to redirect any type you'll see a lot is food therapy. Anytime you're upset, like ice cream really is a magical food, right? It helps us, it brings a smile to our face, it's cold, it's refreshing, it usually brings back positive memories. So again, food therapy. Next is soothing music. You're actually going to see a music a lot on these slides because how many of you have ever had a really bad day. And you get in your car and the music's on and your favorite song is on there. And all of a sudden you're turning up, right? And you're singing and you're bebopping, you're hitting the steering wheel. And you get home and your significant other says to you, how was your day? And you're like, not so bad, right? Because that music was able to wipe all of those emotions away. Music is a beautiful tool. So we're going to talk a lot about different types of music. Again, this is where the behavior log is going to be your most valuable tool. Anytime you see a behavior, you should document it, right? Going back to that pain. If you're seeing that a person is rubbing their shoulder, right, every single day and acting differently, and you're able to give them, it's 2 o'clock, right? Let's say we get proactive and give that Tylenol at 1:30 so that they don't have to exhibit that pain at all, right? So tracking those behaviors, making sure you have what we call a behavior log, of making sure that we are being proactive so we're not seeing that actual. Undressing. So a lot of times we might see this behavior, and there's a lot of different reasons why someone might undress. If you're too hot, right, and that sensor is gone, that I'm in public, that I'm hot, I should probably go somewhere else to cool off. If I have dementia and my sensor's gone, I might start disrobing, right? I'm hot, my need needs met, I need cooled off, right? I'm not able to think to go to the refrigerator and put my head in the freezer, right? I'm thinking I need this now. So again, are they too hot? Next is, are the clothes uncomfortable? I don't know if you've ever worn something that was too tight, but the minute you got home, you're stretching things out and unbuttoning things. So again, making sure that your clothes fit properly. Do they need to use the restroom? Again, I might start disrobing myself if I know that the bathroom's close by so that I can again meet a need of relief. If you've been able to rule out all of those activities of daily living, right, of going to the bathroom, that their clothes fit and they're not too hot, the next possible thing to help manage this behavior is give them a task to complete, right? They might be fiddling with their shirt or their pants. So again, bring them to maybe an area where they can fold clothes, hold a life baby doll. Or I think my other option was to get them to look through scrapbooks or pictures, right? Again, change their mind of the unmet need of undressing what was bothering them and give them purpose, give them something to do. Next is rummaging and shopping. So again, retail therapy is very real. I have it. Nothing brings me so much joy than coming home and seeing all of my Amazon packages arriving, right? So again, shopping. We like to touch things. We like to pick things up. We like to, pick things out for people. Allow individuals to have the opportunity to do that. If we don't, then they might start finding items that they like and just take them, right? In our Wellspring community, a lot of times we have individuals who, again, they're packing to go home, right? Or you might get a phone call of a loved one being in a community, and they might say, your mom keeps taking a suitcase and packing it. Good, that's great. It is filling her day. It is allowing her to take things off a rack and fold them and to put something in nicely. It's giving them purpose, right? Let her go to lunch, unpack it, and then let her pack it again, right? Because again, a lot of times at the end of the day, we need that stimulation. We need that activity, right? Next would be any rummaging boxes, anything that, again, keep individuals busy, whether that be going through poker chips, sorting cards, again, giving someone purpose. I will tell you, the shopping also up here could be the laundry basket. Bringing a laundry basket of unmade clothes to someone saying, I could really use your help. Do you mind folding this for me? Again, it goes back to being a reward because they are able to accomplish that. Next would be yelling or crying out. Again, what can be done? You're going to always want to go back and assess for pain. A lot of times when there's an unmet need, someone will just automatically cry out that they need help. Help, help, help. Or sometimes it could just be a physical scream, right? Again, always go with concern, assess them, make sure it's not for pain. You're going to also want to document, is it a certain time of day that they are crying out? Always assess for their needs. Are they crying out because they need to use the restroom? Are they crying out because they're hungry? Again, there's a need that has not been met. We need to kind of go through our triangle and fill that need. Going back to food therapy. Again, I will say if someone is crying out for pain, if you can have them evaluated through speech therapy, that is going to be your best bet, just to make sure there isn't something underlying or causing them the concern. Speech therapy is not just for swallowing, it's also for cognition. So again, that is a really great benefit. But the other thing that you want to assess for, and the reason I bring up the speech therapy, if you want to introduce the food therapy, and that's so that there isn't risk for choking. A lot of times individuals might cry out because they need that oral stimulation. So sucking on lollipops, giving them gum, but anything for that sensation in their mouth. Next would be showing them a video or an audio tape. When we talked a little bit about the music and memory program that we have, we were very fortunate to have an individual whose son was a radio announcer. And so when we filled his iPod with all of his favorite songs, the grandson was able to say, and next up, Papa, is a song from your youth. And really just have that connection, right, of having a family member, soothing voice for telling a story. I think at Hallmark, you can buy the books where a family member can read it to you. Having them on standby is so nice. And again, it gives that peace of mind that their loved one is there because they hear their voice. But again, it's also that it's reading a book to them. So again, that is also another great opportunity. Next would be wandering. And this is where you find an individual just kind of pacing back and forth, not really knowing what to do or having, let's say, purpose, right? They're not necessarily trying to go to the restroom, but they just don't know what to do. The best thing, again, is to ask, what are you looking for? They might surprise you and say, I really need to go to the bathroom, right? I'm opening up all these doors, but I can't find what I'm looking for. Do they need to use the restroom? Or again, let's look at their therapeutic cues or chores. Again, sometimes they're looking because they know that they have to do something, but they can't remember what it actually is. So individuals might just start going back and forth. So get them in a chore. Start walking. Create a dance party. Sometimes we just need to exert energy. That was my first takeaway working in our memory community. Every time that I would see a resident up and walking, the first thing I would say to them is, here, come have a seat, right? And because they were up, they were walking, right? And I'm like, here, come sit down. And I finally had a gentleman say to me, I'm tired of sitting, right? It is not normal to sit 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, right? That is not normal. We need to exert energy. So a lot of times when people get up, they don't know where they're going. They might need directions, so exerting that energy is going to be key. Having walking clubs, that dancing, right? Anything that you think can release that energy. Get involved in an active game. Again, a household chore. I will tell you, my grandmother was diagnosed with dementia back in 2014. And we would find her occasionally just wandering around the house, not knowing what household chore she needed to do, but she knew she needed to do something. And one thing that always brought her peace of mind was washing dishes. right? She would just go to the sink. We would just put all kinds of things in that sink, right? And she would just go to town. And dish soap is what? 99 cents, right? But she felt like she had purpose. And she'd spend all day just singing and washing the dishes and putting it back and then drying and putting everything away. And then we'd come along and just keep filling it up. How did they get there? Well, we're dirty. You sure are. But she would just, there was peace of mind, right? And again, it allowed her, and she knew she had something to do, as she was a housewife for several years, but she just couldn't figure it out. So again, we gave her the opportunity to have purpose. Next is repetitive questions. This one can be very hard. And I say that because, again, they are living with a memory loss, right? And I always like to kind of give you the picture that when you look at the human brain, you can compare it to a grape, okay? Nice and flush and big and looks squishy, right? Someone living with dementia, their brain looks like a raisin. It is actually shrinking in their head. Okay? So the reason that they're asking you the same question over and over again is because they don't have the ability to remember. So when someone asks, what time is it? And you tell them, and then 2 seconds later, 2 minutes, 20 minutes, what time is it, right? It is like the first time that they've asked that question, even though on our end, it might be the 10th, it might be the 20th, it also might be the 100th time. So every time that someone is asking you a repetitive question, we have to remember that our brain isn't shrinking and that it is like the first time that they've ever seen it. But this is where I will tell you, you're allowed to have breaks too, right? If you can't answer it, cool, calm, and collected, like it is the first time, just say, I need a minute, I'll be right back. Go outside and take a couple deep breaths and come back in like it's the first time you've ever heard, okay? Again, going back to that food therapy, as long as all of those needs are met, this is a really safe way of offering someone bubble gum, or I would say those any kind of lollipop, ice cream. That's always a big hit, especially if you want someone to gain some weight. So again, that food therapy. Using audiobooks, again, kind of like what we talked about, our music and memory, which I know talked a little bit about, but we're going to go into great depth, and then getting them again involved in a small activity. Going back to the hierarchy of needs, that self-esteem, right, of having purpose is huge, right? We want to feel fulfilled every single day. So again, we need to make sure that we are able to give the individual something to complete, to give that purpose. Becoming withdrawn, isolates, or disengaged. This is for the individual who doesn't want to go anywhere, they don't want to do anything because they're afraid of maybe saying the wrong thing or being incontinent. They know a lot of times that there's something is not right and they don't know how to respond. So a lot of times we see individuals self-withdrawn. This one can be very hard. I would say you want to also make sure that you are talking to their doctor to make sure you're ruling out any depression. Anytime that you can bring up a positive memory, though, through reminiscing or looking through pictures, I highly recommend that. Again, giving them hope of a time that they can remember and reminisce back on is a great opportunity for you to learn more about the individual, but again, to allow them to reflect on a positive time. Music, again, we already talked about the power of music, so allowing them that, and then also beauty makeovers. When we look good, we feel good, and we want everyone to know what we had done. My grandmother, in fact, when you would go to visit her after she went to the hair salon, she would do this. She wanted everybody to know. Graham, did you get your hair done? I did. Doesn't it look great? Next is anytime you can offer manicures. A lot of times I will tell you, we have residents leaving the nail salon. First thing they do, they want you to know that they got their nails done, right? When we look good, we feel good. We want everyone to know. So always be able to give that compliment, even if they didn't get their hair done, even if they didn't get their nails done. Compliment them on a shirt. Oh, that shirt brings out your blue eyes. You are absolutely gorgeous, right? Because when we're feeling very good about ourselves and there's a positive, we don't want to isolate. We don't want to become withdrawn. Next is anxiety. So when you're looking for anxiety, a lot of times it can be pacing, it can be wringing of the hands. If they're sitting, it can be constant motion back and forth, a rapid heart rate, upset stomach, unable to concentrate. So when you're looking for all of these signs for anxiety, again, we need to go back to what physical needs met. Make sure you're offering them reassurance. You seem in distress. Talk about it. You seem in distress. How can I help you? I am here. Let them express what their fears are or what the situation occurs. We're going to talk a lot about validation a little bit later, but again, validate them. Make sure that they know that you are here to listen. Even if they are confusing their words, that emotion is real. And by exerting that hand motions or the movements, again, give them the opportunity to let them hold your hand and be with them as they are able to kind of calm down. Do deep breaths. Again, allow them the opportunity to breathe and to be with you. Have soft fabric or having a fidget blanket. You can find fidget blankets now on Amazon. And these are blankets that have pockets and they have buttons that you can wrap everything that allow them to exert all that nervous energy on the blanket. It is amazing. The last blanket I saw was actually an I Love Lucy blanket, which was really cool. It had a curler that you could wrap hair. I mean, they are very creative with these fidget blankets. So please, and Etsy is really cool. So they have really cool fidget blankets out there. Sing along, again, start singing one of their favorite songs. Show Me the Way to Go Home. I learned that from my grandmother. That and Cook for Katie, if you're familiar. We used to always sing those songs together when she was feeling anxious. But again, singing those songs creates memories that you'll hold on to forever. But it also and then last but definitely not least, massage therapy. If someone is anxiously wringing their hands back and forth, feel free to say, can I help you? And give them a hand massage. By you taking over the wringing of the hands and providing that comfort measure, it will help them calm down. Again, just looking for those cues. Next is hallucinations, delusions, and paranoia. Hallucinations is the false sensory experience that can involve one or more senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, and taste. When someone has hallucinations, you want to validate. You don't want to say they're not seeing it, that they're not hearing it, not tasting it, because that just creates a level of mistrust. Ask questions, tell me more, right? Is this a routine? Is there something happening that at the end of the day, it's like 4 o'clock when the sun is at a perfect angle in the window, that someone is saying there's someone outside. And you go to look and it's a tree. But the way that the shadow shifted, it could be that they are seeing something different, right? So again, look at that, look at the time. Again, make sure you're checking their vision and their hearing, and always offer reassurance. So I always tell this story. We were in our memory care community, and individuals came to a care aide and said, there's a snake in that room. And so we went in, we did not see anything, and we ended up getting a sweeper and just running the vacuum really and she looked at that Carrie and was like, right? And then another person came along and she said, I don't know what she just did, but there's a snake in this room. And the other Carrie, we all have walkie-talkies, so we're hearing everything go on. And so the Carrie's like, okay, well, let me start looking, right? And she started looking under furniture. What do you think she found? A corn snake. It somehow had gotten into the community, right? All hallucinations should also be checked out. Always make sure that if someone is saying something, there's a man in my bed, or there's something, go to make sure that there isn't actually a snake in that room, right? So again, making sure, and then following up. I commend the person to run the sweeper because she didn't see it. But again, to everyone's point, you know that sweeper was not going to pick up the snake, right? Next is paranoia. This is where they can't separate fact from fiction, or they create maybe a story about a situation. Again, in our community, to get to our commode, you had to walk by the medicine cabinet in the bathroom, the layout. You walk by a medicine cabinet to get to the toilet. And there was an individual who used to always, whenever she had short hair, whenever she would come out, she said, I'm not going back in there. There's a man that follows me in. Right? So again, we had to kind of set that routine, but we had to actually cover up the mirror. And we used a stained glass because then that way she wasn't seeing her actual own reflection in the mirror, where she was again paranoid that someone was following her in because she couldn't understand the concept of the actual mirror or even recognize that it was actually her. So again, when you're looking at that, there's different ways of making sure, but again, talking about it, making sure that you're validating. What are they paranoid about? How can we fix it? Is it happening the same time every day? Again, or is this a one-time issue? Next is a delusion, a false sense of belief, of wrong judgment, sometimes associated with hallucinations, led with the conviction despite evidence to the contrary. A lot of times with caregivers in particular, or other maybe roommates, this is where a person might say, she stole from me. That's my sweater she's wearing, right? So again, always looking at the actual delusion, and again, you want to validate. You don't want to say, no, you're wrong, right? It's more of, how can I help you? Don't worry, I'll get this sweater back, right? Whenever she's not wearing it, I'll just put it right into your closet. I'll wash it first. I'm just going to take care of it, right? So again, looking at the actual delusion, and again, trying to make sense of it for you, but again, for the individual, take every word that they say, right? What we don't want to do is contradict what they're saying, because that means they've lost trust with us. And the big goal here is to make sure, as always, that we are building that bond, we're building that relationship. So that's a lot of information to take in, right? So how do we use this information? After seeing all of these different behaviors, the best thing you can possibly do is stop and assess, right? What happened? When did it happen? How did we make this better? What worked, right? What worked? What didn't work, right? Every single day, it might not work, but hopefully we gave you a toolbox that you can pull from and see if that's the ticket, right? Again, if someone is anxious or afraid, you want to mirror how the individual looks. I will tell you that was really hard for me at first. Whenever I started working in memory care, if someone was experiencing a behavior, again, it had meaning. But here I was going up to them all smiley, all happy. And I can't tell you how many residents said to me, wipe that smile off your face, right? And I was like, oh, okay. So again, mirror the concern. You don't look yourself. Is everything okay, right? Because again, they're more likely to give you the information when you're more concerned than someone who might just brush it off. Listen, get down on their level. If someone is already in a seated position, you want to make yourself lower than they are. They are always in control. Maintain eye contact. No matter what else is going on around you, be with them, be in their moment, and allow communication. Communication can be hard, especially for someone who maybe is not able to articulate, but if you work at it and you trust and you build that bond, you will know what they're saying. Even if it's, I went down and left and then right, haircut, right? Again, the more you're familiar with that person, you know what those words mean. So again, making sure you take time. Root cause analysis. This is my favorite thing. I actually do root cause analysis on almost every problem that I ever have. It's the 5 whys. Why did it happen? So again, what happened? When does it happen? How long did it last? What happened right before the behavior? What happened after the behavior? What do you think why do you think the behavior happened? What may have triggered the behavior? What do you think makes the behavior stop? And what are things I can do next time? Again, this is the opportunity to always keep growing, for always to keep doing better. The more we know, the better we do. It's just how it is. You become more comfortable, you know how to handle it, and again, you're able to create that bond, that trust, and again, eliminate it. Again, being proactive instead of reactive. All right, looking for communication. Factors that do affect communication is going to be memory loss. It's going to have language problems. And again, it's going back to that spatial or perception, right? So again, when you're looking for all communications, you're going to want to make sure it is in a safe environment and that, again, you are not rushing it. Allow as much time as you possibly can, right? Try to look for your key words. What is happening? What trigger, but again, how is that person feeling? A lot of ways to be able to look at communication, it is through validation therapy. Validation means essentially join that journey. Let them restore their dignity is a respectful way of hearing them out and accepting where they are in that journey. It is a non-judgmental and accepts the physical and intellectual loss that comes with age, right? So again, this would be if someone said to you, isn't the sky a pretty color purple today? Yes, it is absolutely gorgeous. I've never seen it that shade. Is it going to hurt anybody that they said that the sky is purple? Absolutely not, right? Again, they get up from a dining room table that they ate their whole entire meal. You're laughing. I think you know, Jackie, where this is going. And say, when are we going to get something to eat, right? Again, we always have food. What? You didn't have anything to eat? I am so sorry. Come with me. I could really use a cookie, right? Again, there's no reason to say, you just ate a whole meal, right? Because what's going to happen is they're going to say, no, I didn't. And you're going to say, yeah, I saw you eat all of it. No, that wasn't me, right? And then all of a sudden, there's this distress, right? Who was she to say I had something to eat? I am still hungry. Again, obviously our body doesn't always keep up, but that memory is gone that they ate something. Join the journey, right? Again, another glass of water, another cookie, it's not going to hurt anybody. What will is when we push back, right? So again, validation. Nonverbal validation is tuck your feelings aside, okay? Make sure you are a neutral canvas, right? Say their emotion out loud. You seem sad. You seem frustrated, right? Again, give that meaning of the actual emotion. Mirror their facial expressions. Touch if they allow it. Just by a show of hands, how many of you like to be touched? Okay, there's not many of us in this room that are, and especially with COVID, we like stay away, right? We create that distance. I am a very touchy person. I give hugs out. It's very common for me to touch people. Not everyone likes that though, right? That's a hard reality too. And you can see that also, I talk with my hands, right? I've had so many people say to me, you're going to fly away, right? So again, know where someone is distracted by your movements, right? Again, touch if it allows it. If you know that it's going to be overwhelming for someone, your tone of voice, the way that you talk, again, make sure you know of those things before going into that conversation. Maintain genuine eye contact. There is nothing worse, and I say this, I have a 14-year-old son, okay? He doesn't have to look at me ever. He has a phone, right? So I'm having a full-on conversation with him, and he is glued to that phone. I never realized how much it means to have true eye contact with people, right? It truly makes a difference. So again, when you are validating them, eye contact should never be lost, okay? Stay with them throughout that moment. Link their behavior with the unmet need. Again, is that love, safety, being useful, and expressing those emotions. By applying good communication skills, you set the tone. If you are upset and you are frustrated, you're going to have two frustrated people, okay? So again, your mood is contagious. You want to make sure that when you are talking to the person, it's free from distractions. That music, that TV, anything that you can create that stop of that barrier of extra noise, you do not want to compete with that. I will always say though, before you turn someone's television off or radio off, make sure you get permission first. Because there's nothing worse if someone actively watching that TV and you go in and just turn it off. You're, again, two frustrated people then, right? So again, make sure that you're communicating effectively. Looking directly at the person and make sure that they have your attention. A lot of times when we walk up to individuals and they are not necessarily looking at you, but you think they are, and you go to touch them on the shoulder, the worst feeling is that startle, right? Again, go back to those binoculars. Someone living with dementia, that is what they see. A lot of times it's just this vision. So again, say their name. If you haven't heard of Tiva Snow, she suggests that you take your hand up by your chin and you wave it a little bit to kind of get attention before, that way it draws that attention to you, okay? Speak slowly and say words clearly. Again, I'm a very fast talker, so when I am talking to certain individuals, I need to slow down, and I know that. So again, it's kind of taking that extra breath, know yourself, know if you talk with your hands, and making sure that you're speaking clearly, slowly, and to the point. And again, give very simple task instructions. The less that you use in words, the better. I'll be honest, it's easier to say, come with me, than let's go to the bathroom, it's right down the hall, right? Just come with me. Much easier. So again, allowing those basic skills to come to you with the communications. Ways to manage the behavior. Again, we're going to look at the 5 R's. Rechanneling, reassurance, redirection, reconsideration, and reassessment. I like the 5 R's because again, once we start tasking and managing and assessing, we are going to have a whole toolkit available. Again, you're going to be rechanneling that energy. You're going to be providing reassessment. And then that way, the more you learn, the more you should be telling others. Again, if you are a caregiver and you are a member of a family of 5, right? Everyone should have the same tools to succeed walking in through that door. Select appropriate approaches and interventions. You want to make sure that you're developing an organized environment. Again, no one does well with clutter. No one. No one ever says, let's go into this cluttered room. I'm going to be just fine, right? So you want to make sure that things are organized, that things are safe, and then again, making sure that every intervention is a safe one and one that you have thought of to be successful. Ways of managing. So these are your toolkits. Music and memory. And I would say music and memory is the actual definition of creating an individual playlist for a person. If you haven't seen the documentary Alive Inside, please watch it. Make sure you have tissues available. It is a tearjerker. It's absolutely amazing. But it helps create why music is so important and actually listening to the music that you want to listen to, right? Because I might want to listen to Mariah Carey and you might want to listen to AC/DC, right? So again, creating that individual playlist will really help the individual to feel relaxed, to create their own memories. It really is a true experience, so please watch that. Next is aromatherapy. Smells. There's certain smells that just bring back really emotional memories of someone. Fresh bread, cut grass, right? I mean, even now that we're getting into soup season, right? Just that earthy, homemade feeling. So again, allowing aromatherapy. You can use essential oils. You can use your crock pot. You can put a bread machine out. Again, the options are absolutely endless, but there's something rich and rewarding about aromatherapy. Next is art therapy. There is no wrong way to paint. There's no wrong way to create. Allow them the opportunity to express themselves. I had one resident, she was adamant, I am not an artist. Okay, can you help me? I just need some help. Oh yeah, I can help you. So I sat a canvas down inside of her and she said, oh, I might try it. Great. Actually, to be honest with you, that we had an art auction. It was the first piece of art that I ever bought at that art auction. It was absolutely amazing. And I was so proud to tell her that I bought it, even though she said, I'm not an artist. Right? Allowing them the opportunity to express themselves. And if they don't want to actually do the craft, again, allow them to help you. Can you help set things up for me? Or can we clean everything up? Again, that providing purpose. Next is sensory stimulation. So again, that's touching, feeling. That folding basket is wonderful. Next would be a comfort care. So again, providing that massage therapy or comfort in any way, whether that's a weighted blanket. Again, massage therapy. So again, providing that soothing support as they feel comfortable. We talked about massage therapy. Physical touch and hugs only if they allow it. Again, if someone does not like to be touched, I don't recommend going up and touching them or hugging them in any way. So again, knowing personal boundaries. Videotapes of families, children and nature. And then last but definitely not least is the food therapy that we've talked about, especially that ice cream. Challenging behavior and techniques to stay safe. Again, sometimes when we go back to that agitation, that anger, and that rage, that emotion is so real that we need to make sure that we are prepared and aware. It is okay to be frustrated. It is okay to have that frustration and anger. How many of you can raise your hand and say, oh, I never get angry, right? I wish we could all raise our hands, right? Unfortunately, because of having a memory loss, that frustration is at an ultimate high all the time, right? So again, allowing for emotions to be set, allow them to be expressed. Again, they have a meaning. just have to determine what it is and to create a safe physical space for it. So being alert to signs and symptoms. One person should only be in charge of that situation. Something that would create an unpleasant situation is if one person's upset and then all these other people come and gather around them, right? That, to me, if you're in that situation, it would feel like everyone is ganging up on you, right? And then there's even going to be a worse reaction because I'm not going to want 5 people, right? Let one person take charge. The person in charge should make sure that they are quietly directing others. Everyone needs to remain calm, right? The more excitement, the more emotions, unfortunately, heighten the situation. Do not talk about the person like they are not there. That is only frustrating, right? No one likes to be talked about, and no one likes to be reminded if they've done something wrong or if there was a situation. There's always a time and place for that, but not around. Do not whisper. Again, that's another sign of frustration of why are they talking about me, which can lead to paranoia, the delusions that we've already talked about. Do not stand directly in front of them. Again, make sure you're kind of off to the side, and you always want to be kind of lower than they are in case there is an actual reaction to hit. You always want to make sure that you are protecting yourself. Walk away. Sometimes as a caregiver, this is actually the hardest thing for you to do. Walk away and come back. It is amazing what 5 minutes can do. It is amazing that we can shift and alter our perceptions of the situation. But again, if they are safe, walk away. Try again. Redirect. Come back with a cookie. Come back with that ice cream. Come back with that music, right? I just gave you a nice list of ways that you're able to come back to that individual. This is a hard one. Good guy, bad guy. Sometimes we're the bad guy. Sometimes we're the best guy, right? Know where you are. Unfortunately, there's sometimes caregivers that are always labeled as the wrong person, right? They just are, they're actually sometimes, I hate to say it, the trigger that we talk about, right? Those are the topics that we need to talk about. Good guy, bad guy, you know. One time, we had a resident who thought I was his ex-wife. I was always the bad guy, right? He reminded me why we got divorced, right? But my team knew that, right? So the minute that he would come, like he would see me around this corner, he was excited to come tell me why we got divorced, right? I had a whole team to help support me. And again, this is where it gets really challenging when you don't have a whole team, right? But they would be like, oh, it's her again. What is she doing here? I told her to get out. And again, they talked poorly about really his ex-wife, not me, right? But again, good cop, right? They were building trust with him while they were allowing me to not get yelled at. Sometimes, again, good cop, bad cop. You know, why does she wear her hair that way? I don't know. Let's talk about it. Come with me, right? So again, sometimes if you are able and you have that situation, it's okay. Again, this is why it takes a village. But we have to make sure that we're talking about it. Again, this is the next 2 slides really are kind of putting all of the information together. So general interventions, looking for triggers. Meet your basic needs. Remember your triangle. Ensure physical comfort. Provide individual sense of control. Modify your environment. And make sure, again, due to their cognitive abilities, create that opportunity for them to be able to release energy, to express their energy, but again, making sure that it is safe. Adapt and simplify. And by putting it all together, again, you're doing absolutely everything. And then the only biggest change for you is to shift your perspective, right? that is extremely, sometimes can be very hard in caregiving. Be creative. Be flexible. Be safe. But know your limits. As a caregiver, it is really hard to ask for help. Allow it. Hey, can I pick you up something at the grocery store? Yes. Hey, can I bring over dinner? Yes. Right? As caregivers, we say, no, I got this. But allow the help. We are all here. You create a village to help support you. Because if you ever heard the saying, put your oxygen mask on first before you are helping others, right? So what they tell you on the plane is you can't help others if you're not available, right? So again, make sure, give yourself the grace to walk away. Give yourself the grace to get help. And don't be afraid to ask. This is one of my favorite sayings. A coworker actually used to say it all the time. Blessed are the flexible, for they never get bent out of shape, right? If we can go into every situation flexible, calm, cool, and collected, we can manage anything. We can take on the world, right? Sometimes this is harder than others. We are people taking care of people. But you have to know yourself. Like I said, that one slide where your mood reflects everything, know where you are. Feel free to talk about it with them. I'm feeling down today. I'm feeling frustrated. They want to hear about that too. One time I had a resident come up to me and I didn't even know I looked a certain way. I must have been just wearing it on my face. And she put her hand over my wrinkled forehead. And she said, whoa, you shouldn't look like that. It's going to stick. And I said, oh, thank you. I didn't even know I looked that way. And she's like, oh, it's awful. And I took it upon that moment to be like, let's go for a walk. Okay, right? What she didn't realize is that I actually needed the break more than she did, right? They have a sense, right? We all do. But again, as a caregiver, we need to be flexible. But again, know your limits. Because if not, you're just going to have two frustrated people with two different behaviors. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
One thing that you have brought up is that quite often people that have the dementia, they're old, okay? And if they're old, long or have hearing, well, they can't hear very well.
Yes.
So so to communicate with people that don't hear well, something you can yell at them, right?
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes, and that is huge. I'm glad you brought that up because what people don't realize with someone who has hearing impairments is that we automatically start yelling, right? But really what we need to do is go low. Like make your voice as low as you possibly can because they actually can hear it. You're physically slowing down your voice and your tone. And the other really good thing is if you're able to write it down, if they can still read and see letters. Instead of standing there and yelling, get a whiteboard, having something available that you can continue to communicate without actually yelling. Because no one likes to be yelled at, right? And depending on your tone and your voice, I had a resident, even though he was extremely hard of hearing, he would say, stop yelling at me, right? And one way was to go low. Go as low as you can, and they can hear you hopefully better. And if not, again, if it's the whiteboards, it's writing. Other cueing could be cards, where they can point to them with pictures on it, so that way you can continue to communicate. That's a very good point. Very, very good point. Yes.
We had a request for copies of the slides.
Absolutely.
Is that possible? Should we tell them to just indicate that in chat?
Yeah, you can indicate it in the chat, and Jill can send that to me, Or also, if you see my email, you can just email me, and I would be happy to send this presentation off to you.
Great.
Yes. Yep. It's a very long email. I will spell it out for you. It's Liz period. Don't forget the period. Plosner, Plozner hyphen Chalfa, Chalf as in Frank A at junipercommunities.com. Any other questions? And if you have a topic, again, you might have my email. If there's a situation that you're unsure of, feel free to email me. Again, I might have ideas. The only thing you can do is talk about it and get as much information as you possibly can and share it. Again, like I said, when you know more, you do better. It's just part of the process. So again, it's putting your detective hat on and trying to figure things out. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but at least you're trying, and that's all we can ask.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.